The arena of ascendance had witnessed 10,000 battles over its 3-century existence. Champions had risen, legends had fallen, entire fortunes had been won and lost on the blood-soaked sands below the towering observation galleries. But in all those years, in all those countless fights, it had never seen anything quite like this. Lieutenant Darius Cole stood in the center of the arena floor, bleeding from a dozen wounds, surrounded by the bodies of 7 opponents. He shouldn't have been standing. By every tactical analysis, every probability calculation, every precedent in arena combat history, he should have been dead 10 minutes ago. Instead, his enemies were. "This is impossible," someone murmured in the royal gallery where the most powerful beings in the Krell Empire watched from climate-controlled luxury. "A human, alone, against a full tactical team, he can't. And yet he does." The voice was cold, feminine, utterly composed. "Watch." In the gallery's center position, the seat reserved for the absolute highest authority, sat Crown Princess Zaraketh Nose Vaelan. She was Krell nobility at its finest, tall, with scales that shifted between deep crimson and midnight black depending on the light. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on her face tracked every movement in the arena below with predatory focus. 6 arms, each capable of crushing steel, rested in a pose of studied disinterest. The crown fused to her skull marked her as third in line to the celestial throne. She had never chosen a champion, never shown favor to any arena fighter, never displayed anything beyond analytical interest in the blood sport that was political currency among her people. Until now. Below, Darius moved. Another team had entered the arena, 8 warriors this time, representing the mercenary guilds. They spread out with professional precision, weapons ready, clearly determined not to underestimate the human who'd already done the impossible. "He's exhausted," an advisor commented. "This next wave will finish him." "Watch," Zaraketh repeated, leaning forward slightly. Darius didn't wait for them to complete their formation. He charged the nearest fighter, a Krell warrior twice his size, and used pure momentum to drive them both into the arena wall. The Krell tried to grapple, which was a mistake. Darius slipped the hold, grabbed a weapon from the warrior's belt, and drove it into an exposed joint. The Krell fell. 7 opponents remaining. They converged on him as one. No human should have survived. Darius dropped low, letting 2 warriors collide above him and swept the legs of a third. He came up with another weapon, a blade designed for Krell anatomy but serviceable for a desperate human, and put it through the throat of the 4th warrior. 6 remaining. He was bleeding badly now. A strike had opened a gash across his ribs. Another had split his left eyebrow, sending blood into his eye. His breathing was labored. Every movement clearly caused pain. He didn't slow down. "Why?" one of Zaraketh's advisors asked. "Why does he fight so hard? Humans are supposed to know when they're beaten, when to surrender for survival." "He was betrayed," Zaraketh said quietly, her eyes never leaving the arena. "His own people left him here, sold his contract to the arena as payment for debts. He fights because he has nothing left to lose and everything to prove." She'd researched him after his first impossible victory 3 days ago. Darius Cole, 28 standard years. Former military, decorated for valor in combat zones most humans didn't have the fortitude to survive. Dishonorably discharged, not for cowardice or incompetence, but for refusing orders that would have resulted in civilian casualties. He'd been recruited by a human mercenary company, which had then betrayed him to settle gambling debts with the Krell fight promoters. He'd been thrown into the arena with zero preparation and no support, expected to die for entertainment. Instead, he'd survived. And then he'd won. And won again. And again, 4 days, 12 fights, 0 losses. Now he was fighting his 13th battle, outnumbered and outmatched by every possible metric except one. He refused to quit. Below, Darius ducked under a blade meant to decapitate him and drove his elbow into a warrior's eye cluster. The warrior reeled back, and Darius used the moment to grab another weapon. 2 blades now, not his natural fighting style. She could see that in how he held them, but he was adapting. 5 opponents. He couldn't win. The math didn't work. He was too injured, too exhausted, facing too many trained warriors. Victory was impossible. Darius killed 2 more anyway, one with a blade through the heart, the other by redirecting their charge into the arena's energy barrier, which flash fried them instantly. 3 remaining, and they were backing away now. Professional fighters recognizing that the human they'd dismissed as easy prey was actually something far more dangerous. "Stand down," one of the mercenary warriors called out. "We yield. This contract isn't worth." Darius didn't let them finish. He'd learned in previous fights that arena rules were suggestions, not laws. Mercy was weakness. Hesitation was death. He moved like a ghost despite his injuries, closing distance before they could retreat. 2 more died in seconds. The last managed to block his first strike, but not his second. Silence fell across the arena. Darius stood alone again, surrounded by 15 bodies this time. His chest heaved with exhaustion. Blood dripped from multiple wounds. His stolen weapons clattered to the ground as his grip failed. But he was standing. The crowd erupted. Not in celebration. There was too much shocked disbelief for that, but in raw noise, cheers, jeers, thousands of beings trying to process what they'd just witnessed. In the royal gallery, Zaraketh's advisors were already calculating. "We could purchase his contract, use him for political leverage. The other houses would." "No." Zaraketh's voice cut through the speculation like a blade. Her 4 eyes were fixed on Darius below, watching as he swayed but refused to kneel. Refused to show weakness even though he could barely stand. Something in her chest, where Krell felt emotion more intensely than other species, tightened. "Your Highness," an advisor prompted. Zaraketh stood, and every being in the royal gallery immediately fell silent. When a crowned princess of the Krell Empire stood, it meant something significant was about to happen. She moved to the gallery's edge, looking down at the bloodied human who'd done the impossible through sheer will and skill. "He's mine," she whispered. The words were quiet, barely audible, but in Krell culture, volume meant nothing. Intent was everything, and every being in the gallery heard the weight behind those 2 words. "Your Highness," an advisor gasped. "The claim of binding you can't possibly." "I just did." Zaraketh's voice was ice and authority. "Witness it, record it, make it official. That human belongs to me now. Anyone who touches him answers to the crown." The arena froze. The claim of binding was ancient law. When Krell nobility claimed something, property, territory, or a person, that claim was absolute. It couldn't be challenged without declaring war on the claimant's entire bloodline. And Zaraketh's bloodline was the imperial family itself. Darius, still standing in the arena, looked up at the royal gallery. Even at this distance, even through blood and exhaustion, his eyes found hers. Recognition, confusion, and something that might have been defiance. "Send retrieval teams," Zaraketh commanded. Medical staff. I want him treated by the finest healers in the empire, and I want his contract purchased from whoever currently holds it. Price is irrelevant. But Your Highness, the political implications are my concern, not yours. Zaraketh finally turned from the arena. He fought alone against impossible odds and won through skill and will. That makes him valuable. That makes him mine. Anyone who disagrees can challenge my claim formally. No one did. Challenging a crown princess was suicide. Prepare quarters in the palace, security detail, full integration protocols. Zaraketh's mind was already calculating the next steps. And someone find out everything about who betrayed him. I want names, locations, and current business interests. If humans sold him to the arena, I want to know why and who profited. She left the gallery, her entourage scrambling to keep up. Behind her in the arena, Darius finally allowed himself to collapse. But he was smiling. Darius woke in luxury that made his brain hurt. The bed was massive and impossibly comfortable. The room was larger than any apartment he'd ever lived in. Medical equipment he didn't recognize hummed around him, and he could feel that his wounds had been treated. The pain was manageable now instead of agonizing. "You're awake." The voice came from his left, where a Krell female sat in a chair that looked more like a throne. "Good, we have much to discuss." Darius tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. "Who?" Then his brain caught up to his eyes, the scales, the crown, the four eyes watching him with unsettling intensity. "You're the princess from the gallery. Crown Princess Zaraketh knows Valan." She inclined her head slightly. "And you are Lieutenant Darius Cole, formerly of the Terran Coalition Marines, more recently of various mercenary organizations, currently of my personal household." "You're what now?" "I claimed you. In the arena. According to Krell law, you are now under my protection and patronage. This means several things, which I will explain because I prefer informed cooperation over confused obedience." Darius finally managed to sit up. "I didn't ask for protection." "No, you asked for nothing. You simply fought and survived. That's why I chose you." Zaraketh leaned forward slightly. "I watched you for 4 days, 12 fights before today's. You fought teams alone. You adapted to weapons you'd never used. You survived situations that should have killed you. And you did it all after being betrayed by your own people and thrown into my empire's blood sport with no preparation." "Your point?" "My point is that you are either the most skilled warrior I've encountered in a decade, or you're too stubborn to die, or both. Either way, that makes you valuable." Her 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The claim of binding means you're protected. No one can harm you without answering to me. No one can purchase your contract. No one can force you back into the arena. You're mine now, which means you're safe." "Safe in a cage is still a cage." "Yes," Zaraketh didn't deny it. "But it's a cage with options. Work for me, fight when I need a champion, which will be rarely and under much better circumstances than the arena. In exchange, you receive quarters, resources, protection, and the opportunity to exact revenge on whoever betrayed you." That got his attention. "You know who sold me? I will within a day. I have investigators tracking the transaction chain now. When I find them, I'll give you a choice. I can destroy them through legal and financial means, which is boring but effective. Or I can release you with full resources to handle it personally, which is messier but probably more satisfying." Darius studied her. Why do all this for some human fighter?" "Because you reminded me of something I'd forgotten." Zaraketh's expression shifted slightly, something that might have been respect. My people value strength, but we've become comfortable with strength through numbers, through technology, through inherited power. You showed strength of a different kind, personal, individual, the kind that can't be bought or bred, only earned through surviving when everything says you shouldn't. She stood, moving to the window that showed the palace grounds stretching into the distance. Also, politically, claiming you sends a message that I recognize value regardless of species, that I'm not bound by traditional thinking about who can serve the crown, that I make my own decisions and damn the consequences. So I'm a political statement. You're a warrior I respect who also happens to be a political statement. Both things can be true. Zaraketh turned back to him. I won't lie to you, Darius Cole. This is partially selfish. Having you in my household increases my prestige. Your victories reflect on my judgment. Your skills become my resources. But I also won't force you to be something you're not. You'll have freedom within the constraints of palace life. You'll be treated with honor. And when the time comes that I need you to fight, and it will come, I'll explain why and give you the choice to refuse. And if I refuse now, walk away from all of this, then you walk away. I claimed you to protect you, not enslave you. If you want to leave, I'll provide resources and safe passage to wherever you want to go. But, she moved closer, you'll be giving up the chance to make the people who betrayed you answer for it. You'll be giving up status and resources in an empire that respects strength above all else. And you'll be giving up the opportunity to prove to every being who watched you fight that you weren't just entertainment. You were a warrior worthy of crown recognition. Darius was quiet for a long moment. You said I'd have choices. What are they specifically? Stay in the palace, train with my personal guard, the finest warriors in the empire, serve as my champion when needed, which might be combat or might be ceremonial presence. In exchange, quarters, salary, full medical care, legal protection, and my backing when you eventually go after whoever sold you to the arena. What's the catch? The catch is that you'll be watched constantly. Other noble houses will try to steal you, seduce you, or kill you to embarrass me. Political enemies will test you to find weaknesses. You'll be both protected and targeted simultaneously. It's not safe. It's just safer than the arena. And if I excel, if I do everything you're asking, Zaraketh's expression was unreadable. Then you'll rise. In Krell's society, champions of the crown can achieve status beyond what your species normally allows. You could become a military commander, an advisor. Possibly even, she paused. My people have traditions about champions who serve with exceptional honor, bonds that go beyond simple employment. But those are years away and dependent on choices neither of us has made yet. Darius looked around the luxurious room, then down at his bandaged body. He thought about the arena, about the 13 fights he'd survived through skill and rage, about the humans who'd sold him like property, about the fact that for the first time in years, someone was offering him a choice instead of orders. I want to know who betrayed me within 24 hours, he said, and I want access to training facilities immediately. If I'm going to be a crown champion, I'm going to be the best you've ever had. Zaraketh's expression shifted, satisfaction, clear even across species barriers. Agreed. I'll have the information delivered as soon as my investigators complete their work. Training facilities will be made available within the hour. Is there anything else you require? Yeah, Darius met her four-eyed gaze steadily. I want to know what I'm really walking into. You claimed me in front of thousands of witnesses. That had to have consequences beyond what you're telling me. What kind of political shitstorm did that whisper actually cause? For the first time, something like approval crossed Zaraketh's face. Smart. You're right, claiming you caused significant disruption. 3 noble houses have already filed formal protests. My own advisors think I'm either brilliant or insane. The betting houses are in chaos because you were supposed to die, and instead you're now untouchable. And the human diplomatic corps is trying to figure out if this helps or hurts their position in Krell's space. And the truth? The truth is I don't care about the political shitstorm. I saw something worth claiming, and I claimed it. My people respect decisive action, even when it's controversial. You proved yourself in the arena. Now you'll prove yourself in the palace. If you succeed, I'll be vindicated. If you fail, I'll handle the consequences. She moved toward the door. Either way, you're mine now. I protect what's mine. Remember that. She left, and Darius was alone with his thoughts. A beautiful cage, that's what this was. Luxury and protection in exchange for service and being bound to someone else's decisions. But for the first time since being betrayed, he had resources, had backing, had someone who'd looked at him bleeding and exhausted and seen value instead of entertainment. And in 24 hours, he'd have names. Darius smiled, ignoring the pain from his healing wounds. His betrayers thought they'd disposed of him by selling him to the arena. Instead, they'd given him something far more dangerous: purpose, backing, and motivation. When he found them, and he would find them, they were going to regret ever thinking Darius Cole was someone who could be used and discarded. He belonged to a crown princess now, and she'd promised him revenge. Outside the palace, in the arena's betting houses and noble galleries, the galaxy was still processing what had happened. The human who'd fought alone, the princess who'd never chosen anyone, the whisper that became a royal claim. Some saw opportunity, some saw threat, some saw political disaster. None of them saw the truth. They'd just witnessed the beginning of something unprecedented. A warrior who refused to quit, a princess who recognized value others missed, and a partnership that was about to change the balance of power in the Krell Empire. One fight at a time. Starting with the people who thought they could sell Darius Cole and face no consequences. They were about to learn what happened when you betrayed someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain.